Number 1. Private Jonathan Kang Lee. Private Jonathan Kang Lee was a 26-year-old U.S. Army soldier stationed at Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington State. He served as a signal intelligence analyst with the 201st Expeditionary Military Intelligence Brigade. Born in Virginia, Lee enlisted in the Army in 2017, not out of patriotism, but as a way to escape what he later described as years of constant abuse at home from his parents. His military career initially appeared stable. Lee deployed to Afghanistan, a mission he would later say gave his life structure and purpose for the first time. But after returning to the United States in 2019, his life began to unravel. Between June 2020 and February 2022, while stationed at JBLM, Lee committed repeated sexual assaults against his two stepdaughters, one just 8 years old, the other only 4 at the time. The abuse remained hidden for months before finally coming to light. Lee was charged, arrested, and scheduled to face a court-martial on January 14, 2024, but he never appeared. 2 days before his sentencing, Lee made the decision to abandon the Army rather than face the consequences of his crimes. On the day he deserted, he drove away from the base in a white 2011 Honda Pilot SUV. At some point during his escape, the vehicle broke down. Lee called and paid for a tow truck to remove it, then hailed a taxi driven by 34-year-old Nicholas Hoka. Lee asked to be taken to South Center Mall in Tukwila, Washington. During the ride, an argument broke out over the fare. Lee was nearly out of money. Surveillance footage later captured a struggle between the two men inside the vehicle in the mall parking lot. Moments later, Lee pulled out a knife and stabbed Hoka multiple times. Hoka died at the scene. Lee left his body in the parking lot, stole the taxi, and fled. The following morning, police discovered Nicholas Hoka's body and immediately launched a homicide investigation. As Lee remained on the run, the military court proceeded without him. He was convicted in absentia for the sexual assaults, sentenced to 64 years in prison, dishonorably discharged, and stripped of all military pay and benefits. After the murder, Lee drove the stolen taxi to his girlfriend's residence in Redmond, north of Seattle, where he abandoned the vehicle. Investigators traced the taxi to the location and moved in. When officers attempted to arrest him, Lee violently resisted, jumping from a second-story window and attempting to seize an officer's firearm before being subdued and taken into custody. On April 25th, Lee pleaded guilty to multiple charges, including murder, desertion, resisting arrest, and failure to obey lawful orders. During court proceedings, he admitted that Nicholas Hoka was unarmed and was simply trying to collect his fare when Lee chose to kill him. Lee was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole to be served consecutively with his earlier 64-year sentence. He will not be eligible for parole until at least 2045. As of April 2025, Jonathan Kang Lee is incarcerated at the United States Disciplinary Barracks in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, where he has served approximately 1 year and 3 months of his combined sentences. Number 2. Joseph C. Bosikovich. Joseph C. Bosikovich was a 55-year-old U.S. Army sergeant born in Minneapolis, Minnesota. He enlisted in the Army and steadily rose through the ranks, eventually achieving the position of sergeant. Bosikovich was assigned to the 3rd Battalion, 7th Infantry Regiment, 4th Brigade Combat Team of the 3rd Infantry Division. In 2008, Bosikovich deployed to Iraq, where he was stationed at a forward patrol base near Baghdad. On September 14, 2008, at Patrol Base Jerf al-Sakar near Baghdad, a deadly confrontation unfolded. Following a heated dispute, Bosikovich fatally shot 2 fellow soldiers, Staff Sergeant Darius Dawson and Sergeant Wesley Durbin. According to investigators, the argument began after Dawson and Durbin criticized Bosikovich for what they viewed as poor performance on duty. The confrontation escalated rapidly. Bosikovich later claimed that he acted in self-defense, stating that the 2 soldiers threatened him with their weapons and that he managed to disarm them before firing as he fled. However, eyewitness accounts painted a far different picture. Multiple soldiers reported hearing Bosacovich shout, "I'm going to murder you," moments before opening fire. Witnesses stated that he continued shooting even as one of the victims attempted to escape and pleaded for his life. After the gunfire stopped, Bosacovich was heard saying, "I did it, so what?" Bosacovich was immediately apprehended at the scene and charged with 2 counts of premeditated murder. His court-martial began on April 20, 2011 at Fort Stewart, Georgia. The proceedings stretched over more than 100 days, including delays caused by an injury sustained by his defense attorney. During the trial, Bosacovich maintained that he acted in self-defense. He claimed the victims had drawn their weapons, that he used karate techniques to disarm them, and that he grabbed his rifle and fired blindly while retreating, describing his actions as spray and pray. However, the prosecution presented overwhelming evidence contradicting his account. Eyewitness testimony, forensic findings, and Bosacovich's own statements severely undermined his defense. On May 25, 2011, the military jury found Joseph C. Bosacovich guilty of 2 counts of premeditated murder. He was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, reduced in rank to private, dishonorably discharged from the U.S. Army, and stripped of all pay and allowances. After sentencing, Bosacovich quietly requested permission to briefly see his son before being taken into custody. That request was granted. As of April 25th, Bosacovich has served approximately 13 years and 8 months of his life sentence. Given the nature of his conviction and sentence, he is expected to remain incarcerated for the remainder of his life. He is currently held at the United States Disciplinary Barracks at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. Number 3. Eddie Ray Ralph. Eddie Ray Ralph was a 30-year-old former U.S. Marine who was born in Lancaster, Texas. Shortly after finishing high school, Ralph enlisted in the United States Marine Corps, achieving a goal he had dreamed about since childhood. His military service lasted from 2006 to 2010 and included a deployment to Iraq in 2007, where he worked as both a prison guard and a weapons repair technician. In 2010, he was also deployed to Haiti as part of a humanitarian relief mission following the devastating earthquake. Ralph was honorably discharged from the Marine Corps in 2011, but life after the military proved difficult. He soon began experiencing serious mental health problems, including paranoia, auditory hallucinations, and other psychological disturbances. He was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, and was prescribed a combination of antipsychotic and antidepressant medications. Despite doctors recommending inpatient psychiatric care, Ralph refused hospitalization and eventually stopped taking his medication altogether, causing his condition to rapidly worsen. On February 2, 2013, 38-year-old Christopher Scott Kyle, the famous Navy SEAL sniper and author of American Sniper, was approached by Ralph's mother. She worked at the school attended by Kyle's children and confided in him about what Eddie was going through, pleading for help in getting her son back on track. Moved by her concern, Kyle agreed to help and came up with a plan he believed might be therapeutic. He decided to take Ralph to a shooting range, hoping it would help relieve stress and provide a sense of familiarity and calm. That day, Kyle invited his close friend, 35-year-old Chad Littlefield, to come along. The three traveled together to the Rough Creek Lodge shooting range near Chalk Mountain, Texas. At the time, Ralph, who was 25 years old, had been in and out of mental health facilities due to the severity of his condition. He sat in the vehicle with Kyle and Littlefield as they made their way to the range. During the drive, Kyle began to sense something was wrong. He discreetly texted Littlefield, expressing concern that Ralph appeared mentally unstable. Littlefield responded with a brief message telling Kyle to watch your six, a military phrase meaning to watch your back. Although both Kyle and Littlefield were armed, they did not anticipate danger. Their weapons were not holstered properly, and the safety mechanisms were still engaged. Before they reached their destination, Ralph suddenly drew his firearm. Without warning, he shot Chris Kyle 6 times and fired 7 rounds into Chad Littlefield. The precise placement of the gunshot wounds later indicated that the attack was deliberate and calculated. After the shooting, Ralph fled the scene in Kyle's pickup truck. He drove to a nearby Taco Bell where he casually ordered burritos. From there, he went to his sister's home in Midlothian, Texas, and admitted to her what he had done before leaving again to retrieve his dog. Horrified, his sister immediately contacted 911 and reported the killings. Law enforcement soon tracked Ralph to his residence. When officers attempted to apprehend him, he tried to flee once more but crashed Kyle's truck into a police vehicle. He was then arrested and taken into custody. During his trial in February 2015, Ralph's defense team argued that he was legally insane at the time of the murders. Prosecutors countered this claim with expert testimony, stating that Ralph's actions were influenced by substance abuse and that he clearly understood the nature and consequences of what he had done. Throughout the sentencing phase, Ralph displayed no visible remorse. After deliberating for less than 3 hours, the jury found Eddie Ray Ralph guilty of capital murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. While incarcerated, Ralph later claimed that he killed the two men because they were talking to each other during the drive and not paying attention to him. As of April 2025, Ralph has served approximately 10 years of his life sentence. He was initially housed at the Erath County Jail, but due to ongoing concerns about his mental health, he was transferred to the Wayne Scott Unit, a psychiatric facility in Fent Bend County, Texas. He was later moved to the Ramsey Unit in Brazoria County, Texas, where he remains imprisoned. After the murders, a public memorial for Chris Kyle was held at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, honoring the legacy he left behind. Thousands attended his funeral, lining the streets and waving American flags as he was laid to rest. Chad Littlefield's funeral was also held soon after, attended by grieving family members, friends, and a community mourning the loss of another life taken far too soon. Number 4. Soldier Joseph Santiago, Sergeant First Class. Joseph Santiago was a 5th Special Forces Group soldier stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. He enlisted in the Army in 2007 and was serving as a signal support specialist. On September 16, 2021, at their on-base residence, Santiago assaulted his 33-year-old wife, Megan, who was 8 months pregnant at the time. He struck her, causing severe injuries. Megan was transported to Vanderbilt University Medical Center in Nashville, Tennessee, where she underwent an emergency surgery. Despite medical efforts, she died to her injuries less than 2 weeks later. Their baby girl survived the birth and was reported to be in stable condition. Santiago was arrested the day after the assault and held at Grayson County Jail pending investigation by the U.S. Criminal Investigation Division. During the court-martial, evidence was presented that Megan had expressed fears for her safety, sending messages and photos to friends and family, indicating that Santiago might murder her. Some of her friends even planned to intervene and help out, but tragically, they were unable to do so on time. During his trial, the emergency operator testified that when they arrived at the scene and saw Megan beaten at their home, they asked if she had any medical history, but Santiago replied that he didn't know. Santiago's mother also testified that Santiago witnessed his father beat her up as a child, and he decided to walk in his father's ways. She expressed remorse for not removing him from that environment, though his father denied the abuse claim against him instantly. Santiago himself expressed deep remorse in court, apologizing to Megan's family and acknowledging his failure as a husband and father. Megan's family provided emotional testimony about her life and the impact of her loss. Her cousins described her as a loving and joyful person, and they recounted the pain of informing Megan's mother of her death. When he was asked to speak, Santiago started sobbing, showing signs of remorse, and turned to his wife's family and told them that he was sorry and asked for forgiveness, and also stated that he misses his wife. He pleaded not guilty. However, he was found guilty of 1 specification of murder and 1 specification of injury to an unborn child in violation of Articles 118 and 119A of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. He was acquitted of 2 specifications of domestic violence. On August 2, 2023, Santiago was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole, plus an additional 6 months for injuring the child. He was also reduced in rank to E1 private and received a dishonorable discharge. As of April 2025, Santiago has served approximately 1 year and 8 months of his sentence and is incarcerated in a military correctional facility. Number 5. Army Ranger Patrick Philip Byrne. Patrick Philip Byrne was a 29-year-old U.S. Army Ranger assigned to the 2nd Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment at Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington State. He joined the military after being deeply affected by the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks and went on to serve multiple combat deployments, including a 2-month tour in Afghanistan shortly before the incident. Byrne had a documented medical history involving multiple traumatic brain injuries. These included a blast-related concussion during service and a severe accident during a parachute jump in which his chute failed to deploy correctly, resulting in a significant fall. On the night of July 17, 2021, Byrne spent the evening drinking with fellow soldiers in downtown Tacoma, Washington. At some point during the night, he became involved in a physical altercation at a bar and was punched in the face. Witnesses later stated that he appeared to lose consciousness briefly. After coming to, Byrne left the area and wandered the streets alone. At approximately 2 a.m., Byrne arrived at a commercial building where 41-year-old Denise Smith was on duty as a security guard. Smith had only recently started the job and had been working there for just a few days. When Byrne attempted to enter the building, Smith stopped him and informed him that the building was closed and that he was not allowed inside. Security camera footage later showed Byrne forcing his way into the building and launching a prolonged and violent attack on Smith. The assault lasted roughly 10 minutes. During the attack, Byrne dragged Smith by her hair, repeatedly punched her, and used her own keys to strike her face. He attempted to gouge and damage her eyes, causing severe injuries. Byrne then flipped Smith onto her stomach and placed her in a chokehold, cutting off her ability to breathe. When she appeared unresponsive, he continued applying pressure for at least another minute. The entire attack lasted approximately 11 minutes. After the assault, Byrne fled the scene by jumping from a 14-foot landing, injuring himself in the process. He was later located by paramedics, where he appeared disoriented and claimed that he had been attacked. Investigators found no evidence to support his account. Later that morning, around 6 a.m., Smith's body was discovered by a coworker. Her injuries were so severe that her face was unrecognizable. Despite emergency medical efforts, she was pronounced dead at the scene. Byrne was arrested shortly after the incident. Prosecutors initially charged him with multiple serious offenses, including first-degree murder, burglary, and kidnapping. In March 2024, Byrne ultimately pleaded guilty to first-degree murder. During court proceedings, Byrne's defense attorneys argued that his actions were the result of his history of traumatic brain injuries combined with the head trauma he sustained earlier that night. Prosecutors countered by stating that Byrne's voluntary intoxication and deliberate behavior led to an unprovoked and intentional attack. At sentencing, Byrne broke down emotionally and expressed remorse. He stated that he regretted going out drinking that night and apologized directly to the victim's family. The murder of Denise Smith deeply affected her family and the surrounding community. Relatives described her as kind, dedicated, and hardworking, expressing both grief and anger over her violent death. On May 10, 2024, Byrne was sentenced to 20 years in prison, the minimum sentence allowed under Washington state law for first-degree murder. Smith's sister publicly stated that the sentence did not reflect the brutality of the crime, but acknowledged that she was relieved Byrne would spend many years behind bars. As of April 2025, Patrick Philip Byrne has served approximately 11 months of his sentence, with roughly 19 years remaining. He is currently incarcerated in a Washington State correctional facility. The case also renewed broader concerns regarding mental health care for military personnel and highlighted the potential long-term consequences of untreated traumatic brain injuries.
Number 6. Soldier Richie Braden. Richie Chambliss, who was originally from Dallas, Texas, was a U.S. Army soldier who served and was stationed at Fort Hood, Texas. At the time of the incident in 2016, he was 23 years old. On May 2, 2016, Braden confronted his wife, Quenisha Johnson, at her workplace at Walgreens store located at New York Avenue in Arlington, Texas. The confrontation happened because of Braden's anger over a selfie his wife had posted on Facebook, which he found inappropriate, and he said the picture was attracting attention to her. During the altercation, Braden shot his wife, Johnson, in the ankle. She ran and started looking for help and a place to hide. As she sought help inside the store, Anthony T.J. Antle Jr., a 35-year-old Marine veteran and father of 3, intervened. Antle quickly retrieved a firearm from his vehicle. He then approached Braden and ordered him to the ground and held him at gunpoint while calling 911. During this standoff, Braden managed to grab Antle's firearm and, in a tragic turn, shot Antle, murdering him instantly in front of his wife and children. After running away, Braden later turned himself in to the authorities. He was charged with murder for the death of Antle and aggravated assault for shooting his wife. During the trial, he claimed self-defense, asserting that Antle had pointed the firearm at him. However, the prosecution argued that Braden's actions were deliberate and unjustified. A CCTV footage shown in court indicated that Antle was just trying to stop Braden from fleeing the scene. During the sentencing, the victim's wife stated between tears that the death of her husband still haunts her and her children, and they cannot confidently drive down certain streets or corner stores as her children keep asking if that is where their father was shot. On the other hand, Braden's wife, who was shot, stated that she was just trying to move forward as she was blessed to be alive. The jury found Braden guilty of both charges. In January 2018, he was sentenced to 75 years in prison for the murder of Antle and 20 years for the aggravated assault on his wife. The sentences are to be served concurrently. Braden's attorney indicated plans to appeal the verdict, citing the Castle Doctrine, which allows the use of force in certain situations within one's home, vehicle, or workplace. As of April 2025, Richie Chambliss Braden remains incarcerated, serving his 75-year sentence. Having been sentenced in January 2018, he has served approximately 7 years of his term. Given the length of his sentence and the nature of his crimes, Braden is not eligible for parole until he has served a significant portion of his sentence as determined by the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. Number 7. Soldier Frank Rangi. 57-year-old Sergeant Frank Rangi was born in Niles, Ohio, and was a U.S. Army soldier assigned to the 3rd Battalion, 504th Parachute Infantry Regiment of the 82nd Airborne Division stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. In January 2000, while on peacekeeping duty in Vatina, Kosovo, Rangi committed a heinous crime that shocked the international community. On January 13, 2000, Rangi entered the apartment building of an 11-year-old ethnic Albanian girl, Marita Shabu, under the pretense of searching for a 23-year-old woman with whom he had been flirting with. Failing to find the woman, Rangi encountered Marita and lured her into the basement. There, he assaulted and murdered her. He then hid her body under a stairway, covering it with flour to conceal bloodstains, and later he returned and placed her remains in 2 flour sacks, which he buried beneath the snow on a nearby hilltop. He was arrested after he did not attend their routine patrol as he was trying to hide the body. He was stripped of his pay, rank, and was dishonorably discharged from the Army. During his court-martial, he expressed little or no remorse but apologized to the victim's family and asked that they should forgive him. He also stated that prior to the incident that he has not been found guilty of any other crime and he has not committed any crime before, stating that he knew that what he did was wrong, which is why he pleaded guilty. The 6-officer panel deliberated for less than an hour before they all sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As of April 2025, Frank Rangi has served over 25 years of his sentence, and he remains incarcerated, serving his life sentence. Number 8. Staff Sergeant Ulysses Moore Ramirez. 49-year-old Ulysses Moore Ramirez, who was born in Mexico, served as a staff sergeant in the U.S. Army specializing as a construction engineer. Between 2013 and 2014, he was assigned to the 1st Engineer Brigade at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. During the period, his role involved overseeing construction projects and mentoring junior soldiers within the brigade. In his tenure, he committed numerous offenses involving children across the United States. He would regularly pose online as a teenager, using explicit language to request for images from children. He carried out this act on over 19 victims whom were all children. His actions came to light when a parent in Sioux City, Iowa, noticed the activity and reported the suspicious online interactions involving their child. This report led local authorities to identify Moore Ramirez as an active duty service member, prompting an investigation by the Army's Criminal Investigation Division. The investigation uncovered extensive evidence, including digital devices and communications with victims. He was scheduled for arraignment in April 2015, but he decided to run and deserted the force before the hearing, leading to his placement on the Army's most wanted list. After almost 10 years of being on the run, he was apprehended in July 2024 at the U.S.-Mexico border. He had fled to Mexico, staying with family to evade U.S. law enforcement. Upon learning that Mexican authorities were searching for him, he was found hiding near the border, identified himself, and was returned to military custody. He admitted to various offenses during interviews with CID officials. On February 19, 2025, during a court-martial at Fort Leonard Wood, Moore Ramirez pleaded guilty to 12 specifications of abuse of a child and other charges leveled against him. On February 19, 2025, during a court-martial at Fort Leonard Wood, Moore Ramirez pleaded guilty to the charges. He was sentenced to 31 years in prison, dishonorably discharged, stripped of all Army pay and allowances, and was reduced in rank to E1. Additionally, he will be required to register as an offender upon release. As of April 2025, Moore Ramirez is incarcerated at the United States Disciplinary Barracks in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, serving a 31-year sentence following his court-martial conviction.
Number 9. Soldier Jordan Hennings. 34-year-old Jordan Michael Henning was a staff sergeant in the U.S. Army assigned to the 1st Army Division East at Fort Knox, Kentucky. He enlisted in the Army in 2008 and completed multiple deployments. His wife, Ashley Henning, also served in the military, working with the U.S. Army Human Resources Command at the same base. Both were active duty service members at the time of the incident. In the years leading up to the incident, Henning reportedly experienced significant emotional distress. He described his marriage to Ashley as volatile and marked by psychological and alleged physical abuse. He confided in friends about his ongoing relationship issues, describing the environment as toxic. On June 26, 2023, during a birthday party for Ashley to celebrate her 37th birthday at their home in Rennieville, Kentucky, an argument started between the couple. Surveillance footage showed the couple arguing as they cleaned up after the party. Witnesses reported that the dispute escalated despite their attempts to intervene. Concerned for the children's safety, neighbors removed them from the premises. One of Ashley's sons ran to a neighbor's house for help during the dispute. When the neighbor, Jimmy Watts, attempted to intervene, Henning reportedly threatened him and put him in a headlock, prompting Watts to flee and call 911. Following the confrontation with Watts, Henning retrieved a firearm from an upstairs bedroom. According to his later testimony, he believed Watts was returning with his own weapon. However, both Watts and another witness denied this. The security footage showed Ashley pleading with Henning to put the firearm away. She was seated on the patio when he shot her 4 times. She stumbled into the kitchen where Henning's firearm shot exhausted. He left the room, reloaded, and returned to fire a final shot before spitting on her body. The entire incident lasted several minutes and was captured by interior surveillance cameras. Law enforcement responded to a call at approximately 9:45 p.m. Upon their arrival, they found Ashley inside the home with multiple gunshot wounds. She was transported to a hospital where she was pronounced dead. Jordan had fled the scene after the shooting, but he was located about a mile away. Upon apprehension, he made statements expressing remorse for harming his wife. He was arrested and charged with murder and domestic violence. The trial commenced in March 2025.
During the trial, his defense argued that he acted under extreme emotional disturbance. He described that his mental state was affected by prolonged marital strife, substance use, and possible testosterone supplementation. During the sentencing, Hennings' 13-year-old daughter testified about how losing her mother has affected her negatively. Jordan did not deliver a formal final statement to the court beyond his testimony. However, during his appearance on the stand, he expressed remorse and repeatedly apologized for his actions, stating that he destroyed lives that day. His parents and sister expressed sorrow for Ashley's death and apologized to her family. The jury found him guilty of first-degree manslaughter, a lesser charge than murder, and he was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Ashley's cousin, Marine Corps Chief Warrant Officer John Williams, expressed his dissatisfaction with the verdict, leading to a reprimand from the presiding judge. As of April 2025, Jordan Michael Henning is incarcerated at a Kentucky State Correctional Facility. He has served approximately 1 year and 10 months of his 20-year sentence. He remains ineligible for parole until he has completed 85% of his term.
Number 10. Master Sergeant Nathaniel Cosby. Master Sergeant Nathaniel L. Cosby, age 38 at the time of the incident, served as an explosive ordnance disposal technician in the United States Marine Corps. He was assigned to Marine Wing Support Squadron 171, part of the 1st Marine Aircraft Wing based in Iwakuni, Japan. In May 2013, Cosby was on a temporary duty assignment in Hawaii, working with the Joint WMIA Accounting Command at Hickam Field. On May 16, 2013, Cosby met Yvonne Ivy Harris, a 29-year-old woman from Portland, Oregon, who was visiting Hawaii to celebrate her birthday. Though some new development revealed that she was transported to Hawaii by her 36-year-old boyfriend, Mark Miles, to come work as an escort for rich individuals. That evening, Harris met Cosby at a Waikiki bar. Surveillance footage later showed the two entering Cosby's hotel together. That was the last time she was seen alive, and she was also 4 weeks pregnant at the time of her disappearance. The following morning, Cosby was seen on camera struggling to move a heavy bag out of the hotel into an SUV. Harris's body was discovered on May 20, 2013, near Yokohama Bay on Oahu's western coast. The autopsy revealed that she died of a neck injury, and her death was ruled a homicide by the medical examiner. Following an investigation by the Honolulu Police Department, Cosby was arrested at the airport as he was preparing to leave the island. He was initially detained by Honolulu police, but was released without charges due to insufficient evidence. After being released by the police, he was temporarily assigned to an aircraft unit at Marine Corps Base Hawaii in Kaneohe, where a U.S. Marine spokesman said he will be free to come and go as he pleases like all other Marines. Subsequently, the Marine Corps took jurisdiction over the case. During his court-martial at Marine Corps Base Hawaii in Kaneohe, he admitted to murder Harris but claimed it was in self-defense. He stated that after a night of drinking, Harris demanded money and allegedly attacked him with a knife in his hotel room. He claimed that he placed her in a chokehold to subdue her, which resulted in her death. He then disposed of her body to avoid personal and professional embarrassment. The military jury found Cosby guilty of unpremeditated murder, obstructing justice, and attempting to patronize a street worker. They recommended a life sentence and a dishonorable discharge. The sentence was upheld by the commander of U.S. Marine Corps Forces Pacific. Cosby was reduced in rank and forfeited all pay and allowances. He was dishonorably discharged from the Marine Corps. During the sentencing phase, he maintained that he acted in self-defense and expressed remorse for his actions. He acknowledged that he had lied to authorities during the initial investigation, as he outrightly told them that he never carried out the murder. As of May 2025, Cosby is serving his life sentence at the United States Disciplinary Barracks in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, the Department of Defense maximum security prison.